So let's kick off. So very quickly today, we have the numbers ramping up. The person I'd like to introduce who is speaking to us today is Wale Adediran. For those of you who don't know him, Wale Adediran is an MCI CPM, an MCI PM, HRPL, FNIMECH, NMNSC, which basically means is currently the HR director, is the group HR director for Farm Mills of Nigeria PLC and its subsidiaries. He's also the president and chairman of Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM. He holds a BSc as far back as 1990 in mechanical engineering and an MSc in mechanical engineering as well from the University of Ibadan. Great UI. He started his career at Procter & Gamble. Started his career at Procter & Gamble in 1992 as a management trainee. He has held various positions in production management, organizational excellence, personnel administration, industrial relations, reliability engineering, and storeroom management across management levels from 1992 until 2002. As of 2002, before 2002, he was organizational excellence manager and later appointed as plant human resource manager and organizational excellence manager in 1998 and 2000 respectively, with responsibilities for human resources and organizational excellence for all manufacturing operations. He was then appointed group manager, sub-Sahara programs to lead a new factory startup. Later in 2002, he was promoted to group manager human resources, leading the Procter & Gamble HR in West Africa's region until 2005. 2005, he joined Frigoglass Industries Nigeria Limited as a subsidiary of Frigoglass SAS Athens as a human resources director. He led various business transformations as the head of human resources function for 7 years till March 2012, after which he became appointed as human resources director for Guinness Nigeria, a subsidiary of Diageo UK in March 2012. After 2.5 years of the HR director for Guinness Nigeria, he was appointed logistics transformation director by Guinness Nigeria to drive major transformation projects worth millions of British pounds. In October 2014, Wale joined the Flour Mills Nigeria PLC as HR director for the group, a position he holds till date. Wale has diverse experiences ranging from manufacturing, startup operations, shutdown and investments, to mega management in manufacturing operations, engineering, human resources functions. He's widely traveled and has attended many human resource engineering, people management and leadership courses and conferences as a speaker and participant, both locally and abroad. He has won several awards nationally and internationally, including Global HR Excellence Award at the World HRD Congress, Taj Lanterns in Mumbai, India. He has served as the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria on the annual National Conference Planning Committee as Vice Chairman 2009-2010, as Chairman, as member of the Governing Council 2011. He served again on the Governing Council as the Chairman of Strategic Planning and Implementation Committee, SPIC, in 2016 and 2017. He then served as 2 terms as Vice President of the Institute from 2017 till he was elected President of the Institute on the 30th of April 2019. He has been a regular speaker at conferences and lectures within and outside Nigeria. He chairs the National Joint Industrial Council and the Committee of Personnel Experts of the Association of Food, Beverages and Tobacco Employers. He has been on the board of United Way Nigeria and board of trustee of Guinness Foundation. He's also a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Mechanical Engineers, a division of Nigerian Society of Engineers, and he is a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Please join me as I welcome to grace our interview today, Mr. Wale Adediran. You can please help me welcome him in the comment section if you can hear me loud and clear.
I welcome everybody.
Okay, so very quickly today, we'll be having the pleasure of listening to him, learning from you, and hearing a variety of things from you. And as just a quick way of coming in today, a lot of questions, there are a lot of very interesting questions that have come up on the account of people looking at your profile. And people have asked, how do you get, to move from mechanical engineering to HR? How do you go so fast within the careers? How, does this happen? Is it because there's a special privilege? Did he get some connections early? What exactly is happening? So I'd like us to, basically begin to listen to you as you, welcome on the podium and say, all of this growth and this career path, is it a function of privileges? Is it a function of values? Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Actually, I should have allowed you to answer that first question. Because you witnessed, you were an eyewitness.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, how did it happen? To be honest with you, I can only point to what I consider to be an accident. It's not like a plan that I had. So I believe it's God's plan. Otherwise, what happened would not have happened. So I studied engineering. I got employed by my first employer as a trainee manager in engineering, in production engineering to be specific. I was trained along with other colleagues as a team to start up the first ladies sanitary towel manufacturing factory crew for Nigeria. And in the process of going on that training, I was involved in recruitment of the semi-skilled and low-skilled workers. I was also privileged to lead the operations team that included technicians and some colleagues, engineers like myself. So I think my first experience with anything related to HR was in the process of recruiting people, the people that we have at the packing end of the production line. So I was involved with their interviews, like most of us are involved with interviews of those that work along with us in our teams. That was the first experience. The second experience will be in coordinating the training of myself and my colleagues outside the country. So planning, we didn't do the planning. The host country did the planning, but we had to monitor the execution of the plan. So I was a trainee myself, but at the same time, I had to look after my colleagues that were on the team. So let's say after recruitment, I had training coordination. Then coming back to the country, I was just into production. And along the line, an incident happened that exposed me to manage the students' union. We had, in those years of students going on nationwide strike or sympathizing, you can hear me, I believe.
Loud and clear.
Or sympathizing with workers' union whenever they went on nationwide strike. So students from the Polytechnic Ibadan, they were on one of such actions in town in Ibadan. Our factory was in Oluyole Estate. It was in the days that we used to brand company vehicles. So it was Peugeot 504 official vehicles. And they all had the inscription of the company name on the front doors. So this crowd of students were marching on the road. It was a time that commercial vehicle movement was hampered. So the streets were more or less empty. To cut the long story short, our official vehicle ran into this crowd of students and injured two of them. The driver, because he was scared of the mob, ran away from the scene with the vehicle. Unfortunately, the name of the company was on the vehicle, and they were not too far from our factory. So they just diverted the action to our factory. And they came to the factory. We could not pacify them. They were shaking the gate. They were shaking the fence. The fence was not block wall. It was see-through wire mesh. They were threatening to pull down the gate. And my colleague, who was the HR manager, then we used to call it personnel manager, okay? So the personnel manager, my colleague, who also studied engineering but found himself in HR, who had his elementary schooling in England, was speaking phonetics that they could not understand. So he couldn't calm them down. And he didn't have such a loud voice to start with. Anyway, because the situation was getting very difficult, I had to step out and speak to them in the language they understood. I was a union leader, so I could speak their language. I calmed their temper. I encouraged them to focus on the students that were injured. They insisted I must step out of our gate to come and speak to them. They will rush into the factory. I convinced everyone to allow me out, and I stepped out. Of course, some of them wanted to attack me, but I managed to calm them down, and the ones that were reasonable prevailed. Then they insisted they would go and treat their injured colleagues. I must accompany them, and I must accompany them in their Aluta bus, which I did. Because I accompanied them in Aluta bus, our regional office in Geneva was alerted that I had been picked up by an angry mob and my life was in danger. The company took a decision at the regional office to send down our security head for the region. And they made all the arrangements. He had boarded his flight before I came back to the factory. By the time he came, everything was, by the time he could fly in the next day, the factory was running normally. So he interviewed me, found out what happened, got all the details, wrote his report. Then the VP HR for the region, who was reporting to the HR head for the region, an Italian guy, they look and remember him, very tall guy like that. He came down, interviewed me as well, and he wrote a confidential report that my flair or my gifts will be better utilized in HR.
Wow.
That was the beginning of my problem. Eventually, when I think like a year after, I was involved with a transformation project. It's called the Organization Excellence Program. From that program, my role was expanded, sent for some very good training thanks to Procter & Gamble. After that, I got a good mentor, a Frenchman who was running HR in Morocco, later attached to the guy running HR in Poland. And then my role in HR started expanding. I went back to operation for some time, went back to project engineering for some time, then came back to HR again. And since then, I've not done anything engineering. All I've been in HR. So I hope it wasn't such a long story.
No, very interesting. Somebody said is the gift of Begi that turned into HR gift. I think it's another Aluta leader inside the house.
Samuel, thank you.
Now, but very interesting. So you studied engineering. You studied engineering, mechanical engineering. Why mechanical engineering? Because it looks like the HR gift is has taken over. But people always ask me as well, why did you do electrical engineering? So I'm asking you today, why mechanical?
You know the way the course of studies of most children in the university in Nigeria works. It's not like we had serious career knowledge of what it is about. In my case, I wanted to study mathematics because I loved mathematics and because mathematics was my best subject. So further mathematics, I just loved those courses. And when I was asked what I would study in the university, by the way, I wasn't even planning to go to the university. I was planning to go to the School of Forestry and be a forestry officer. I was fortunate to meet a professor who was the dean of Faculty of Education, University of Ibadan, an Ibadan man of blessed memory now. He attended my school's end of the year prize giving ceremony. And I had some gifts, some prizes I won that day, and I participated in drama. I was the lead actor in, I can't remember if it's Gods Are Not to Blame or Wedlock of the Gods. So after the whole event, he approached my school principal that he would like to pay for my WAEC and my JAMB and all that. So because he paid for JAMB, I was asking questions. What is the JAMB thing about? The most educated person in the slum where I was raised was a forestry officer. So I wanted, he was my role model. The next person to him was a grade 2 teacher. So I was looking at the options of either to be a grade 2 teacher or to be a forestry officer. So when the man came and talked about JAMB, I didn't know what JAMB was. Thank God he invited me to the university, explained what JAMB was to me, and then I chose to study mathematics. And somehow he felt studying mathematics wasn't good enough for the kind of gifts I had. I did not know exactly what he saw. So he got the head of guidance and counseling in the university to talk to me about the various career options. Professor Mrs. Odelola, she was then Dr. Odelola, talked to me and convinced me about engineering. You know, like the way you convince a kid, oh, do you like vehicles? Do you like airplanes? Engineers make those things. And, oh, really? Because I couldn't speak good English. In fact, I used to learn in Yoruba a lot then. So she convinced me to study engineering. The question then became, which engineering? Because she told me that in engineering, most of what I will be doing will be mathematics, but in applied form. So which engineering to study? I said I love airplanes. Then she said I should study mechanical engineering. That was how the choice was made. It wasn't my choice.
Wow.
I just found myself in mechanical engineering. And after I studied that, because in Nigeria at that time, you know, jobs were not so easy to come by. I said I wasn't going to stay at home, waste my time. Immediately after NYSC, went for my master's program, and that was where I jammed luck or favor.
Interesting. So if not for this man strategically positioned in your school, we will have found you in one forest now.
I still love forest. Till today, I still love forest. I'm into agric. I have 14 acres of land, you know. When I have time, I go there to do whatever I can. I still love forest.
Very good. Very good. But so, yeah, you know, I think from this also, we can see very clearly that sometimes guidance, some external guidance, you know, can help us along the way, can show us a little bit of direction in where we are going or what we want to do. Okay. So engineering was because of a love for mathematics and somebody who guided along the way. Switch to HR was from taking responsibility and managing a crisis. Now, we see that in your career, we saw the foundations in engineering, we saw how you moved to HR, and we saw how you've been moving from place to place. And, you know, many people always try to wonder, I think it's a big question people have as well, when is a good time to move? When, you know, how do you know you're done and then you move to the next one? Because we've seen you P&G, we've seen you Frigo Glass, we've seen you Guinness, and then Guinness, you can see flour mills. Were they all strategic moves? What exactly was going on? Or did somebody say, we don't want you anymore? What exactly, you know, initiated those moves?
First thing, my personal experience that led to the choice of course of study taught me that I must expose my children's worldview. I mean, I must expand my children's worldview by exposing them. So it's important because my exposure was to grade 2 teacher and forestry officer, and that would have limited or slowed down my journey, my career journey in life. So I think that was a big lesson to pick from there. Now, in terms of when to make your next move, To be honest with you, none of my moves was strategically planned. The only thing I can remember is I never believed in moving because there is more reward. I strongly believe in being a master of whatever I was doing. So in engineering, I'm sure they look and remember some of it. I was hands-on. I never left anything to my team. If there is any problem that cannot be solved, I will be the person sitting on the machine until it is fixed. I can still recall till date, my team when I was in throw drops, when I was in the healthcare manufacturing lines, throw drops manufacturing was one of it. And there was a steam boiler that supplies steam to throw drops, to pharmaceuticals. And that boiler could not work for almost 5 days. We all gave up on it. Every member of my team gave up on it. I took the manual, studied very hard, went under the boiler. I spent hours under the boiler overnight, of course, with my team around encouraging me and all that. And eventually I got the boiler to fire. And my team just could not believe it. So personally in my career, while in engineering and now that I'm in HR, I believe in having depth in anything I'm doing. I always set for myself the goal of being as good as the top 20% of my colleagues. I always tell myself that if there's anything I cannot do in my career, in my role, at least 8 out of 10 of my colleagues should not be able to do the same thing. So my belief was in becoming deep and becoming an expert in whatever I was doing. So that was my target in practicing engineering, in running operations. And I'm sure they look and remember that I used to be pushed to every line that has problems. When throw drops could not produce for almost 2 weeks, that was when the engineering team there was taken out and I was brought in as reliability engineering manager then, before they now said I should stay on the line permanently. So I believed in developing myself deeply. Now, let's come to moves. I used to receive offers, and I received very good offers that were promising 45% more, 60% more. As God will have it, they were always extended at periods that I would either be looking forward to my next internal move, or there is a particular development program that I have not completed. And I never wanted to move without completing those programs. So I never moved because there was an attractive offer. And I think it has to do with how God had raised me to be contented with the little I had. It wasn't much, but it was good enough. In fact, my first offer from P&G, 2 of my colleagues that joined along with me at the same time, till today, they still accused me that I was the one that did not allow them to earn 60,000 naira per annum, because I accepted, I think, 36,000 per annum then. So because I accepted it, they told the rest of them they must take it. And they said, they've seen the budget, that somebody that knew about it saw the budget that they could accommodate up to 60. They offered me 36, I was okay with it, and I took it. So it was never about the cash. It was about, do I have enough? I want to develop myself. So when my first move came, and you look and remember, it was my move to Frigoglass. like I always tell people, because I had what Frigoglass was looking for, it was the seller's market for me. I dictated my terms. So all my colleagues that had moved earlier, they gained a lot, yes, but I caught up with them with that one move. It was a seller's market for me. I demanded things to push them away. And they kept saying, we will give you. I demanded for 2 official cars with 2 drivers. They said, we will give you. I demanded for working 3 days in Lagos, 2 days in Ibadan. They said, you can. And so on and so forth. My pay was doubled. Deliberately, when they said, what will you take? I told them, double my current pay. And they were like, are you crazy? I said, that's what I want. Otherwise, forget it. And they said, okay, we'll pay. I thought they were joking. In fact, my boss, who moved from P&G to join them and asked me to join him, said, I must ensure they put everything in writing. So they did. Meaning, I can talk about it now because it's been years ago. So meaning, developing myself first paid off. And I always advise our colleagues, develop your roots before you begin to branch out, so that the root can carry the weight of the branch. If you move too early and they have high hopes and they give you all the benefits, they will expect so much from you. And at your first mistake, you'll be out. I think for the last almost 29 years soon, from 28 years soon, rather, 1992 to date. So by end of August, it will be 28 years. I have not been out of job for one day, and I thank God for that mercy. I will leave a job on Friday and resume at the next place on Monday. So the deep roots helps a lot. It boosts your confidence. You know what you are doing, and people will respect you for it. My most cherished feedback I've ever received was from my current employer. They said they spoke to someone that knew me when I worked in Frigoglass, and that person was global CEO of a multinational business. The person said, what the person said about me was very simple, that Wale knows his stuff, but you need to push him hard to do what you want him to do. He will only do what he will do. The key for me is he acknowledged that I knew my stuff. This was someone that we used to quarrel a lot. He was my global CEO. And I used to push back a lot to him, to tell him, you cannot do that. You know, the person before me, they would tell them, retrench 30%, and they will go and retrench. You can't tell me that. I need to see the business justification. I need to see that truly the business cannot afford to keep those people, and those people can really not add value. And it really helped. It's simply because I had my roots. When I was going to move to Guinness, a similar thing happened. Fantastic 7 years in Frigoglass. I enjoyed myself. I loved the reward. And I was always invited to Athens. Every year, at least once or twice a year, even with my family sometimes. So I committed to a project list, major projects. And the plan is, once it's delivered, we have a role for you outside there. And I was even invited to talk about it at the head office. Unfortunately for them, they didn't get global board approval before talking to me. I delivered my own side of the game, and they came begging. That was sorry, the board did not approve, but we have this other thing for you. We want you to lead the country, and for that, we'll get somebody to run HR who will report to you. We'll get somebody to do business development, so you manage the two of them. That will introduce you to commercial. I told them, no, that's not what I agreed with you guys. You've not delivered on your promise. I don't think there had ever been a year that I do not get pestered by agency and get offers. But deliberately, I turn them down. Some of them will ask me to recommend colleagues. I do, and they take them. So when it got to that, I told them I was going to leave. They did not believe it. As I made up my mind to leave, then about 3 offers came, and I chose Guinness. And when there was time to leave Guinness as well, on principle, in fact, the first person I always tell when I needed to leave is my principal, my CEO. And never have I had any of them say, good riddance. Rather, it's always, please, Wale, can you stay a bit? And if you have to go, involve me in the decision. So the decision to be where I am today involved my principal. So in all of those, what have I learned? Number one is the grace of God. Number two, be a master of your game. Because if you survive with bullshit, it will be exposed eventually. There's a level you get to that bullshit cannot work. Number three, you must not prioritize immediate gratification. Instant reward, instant package, instant benefits. I've seen, and look, Deolu and I have come a long way. I've seen a lot of colleagues who rush into it and made a shipwreck of their careers. Because if you are not ready, why make the move? It's easy to convince people at interviews that you know this, you know that. You can tell them the story of what your colleagues are doing or your bosses are doing as your own story. And they will give you the package. But before you know it, they will soon find out that the emperor has no clothes. But when you know your stuff, when you develop yourself, and that's where God's grace comes in. I was fortunate to work with great people like Deolu. The quality of people you work with also impacts the pace at which you can develop. Some of the brightest ideas that opened me up in HR came from my team members. Deolu can still remember the SMS application, approach that he introduced to me at Procter & Gamble. He said, look, Wale, rather than hard copy CVs, why don't we use CSV? We can ask people to send SMS. There are some software now on phones with mobile. A mobile phone just came at that time. And that performed wonders. You know what? I used it in Frigo Glass. They were excited. I used it in Guinness before eventually, we got, what's the name of this, Talio, pushed. Okay. So my point is, the priority should not be instant gratification. Grow, 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 grow. Collaborate with people around you that you can learn from. You can learn from below, above, and sideways. Learning is continuous. I learn from my driver. I learn from everybody around me. You will be shocked that those people have things that can make the difference. So it's the grace of God. It's my determination that I have to be a master of what I do. And God favored me with employers that gave me that opportunity and sent me for all kinds of development interventions. It's the decision to shun, instant gratification. Others will be telling you, oh, they told us now in those days, oh, you are still proctorizing yourself. You are rotting away. Opportunities out there. But I knew I was not ready. Thank God I waited. Because when I moved, my foundation was solid. And I was able to take all the pressure that came. It's not that easy. It's not like it's a smooth journey. There will be bad days. In fact, even in P&G, there were bad days when I felt like walking away. I had so many managers. Some of them were good. I had a few that were not so good. My best friend was my manager at a point in P&G. I was best man at his wedding. And he was my direct manager. He was my plant manager. I was his personnel manager. So I enjoyed all of those periods. But at the time, I had a lady who had an agenda, you know, had a colonial agenda. And she wasn't happy that I was succeeding where she failed. She made my life miserable as much as she could. But that resilience to withstand all those pressure helped. And by the time I was ready, I knew I was ready. I was ready for any shock. I was ready for any pressure. It's been God's grace, but you must be a master of your game.
It's a very interesting question here, a cheeky question from one of your old friends, Alex Goma.
Excellent.
He said, how did you manage those pesky sales or commercial people where you move from HR to HR from supply chain? And somebody is also asking, I'll just double up that question. Someone else is also asking, have you interfaced very well with labor organizations? How deeply have you interfaced with organized labor association? Looking at current situation we're currently in globally, will workforce downsizing be at the top of optimizing your organization's viability? What are your thoughts about downsizing?
Let me first of all twirl for Alex. Alex Baba, I've removed my shoe, my feet are on the ground. So let me attempt to answer Alex's cheeky question. How I manage those pesky sales guys like Alex, those commercial people, when I moved to HR from supply chain. Interesting. Alex could recall that when we were there, we in supply chain used to call our organization PSO, Product Supply Organization. So it was us against them. We always saw the sales people, the commercial people, the marketing guys as coming to demand unreasonable things. I recall when we were going to string Lemon Plus bags, I'm sure Delu can remember, we were trying to, Cowbell came with string sachet of their milk, and the visibility was massive for them. Then the business said, we must string Lemon Plus. And we contacted Bosch that made the equipment, and they said, you guys are crazy, you can't do it with that machine. If you want to do it, we can make a machine that can do it for you. Again, learning from your colleagues. I had a colleague who was an electrical technician, Femi Niyawe. That gentleman, God bless him wherever he is today, very naughty, he had no friends, and he was always disciplined for one thing or the other on the line. So, but I knew he was a maverick. He could think of bright ideas. So I talked to him about it. Cut the long story short, I took him off the line for almost a week. He did several trials and he got it right. So we were able to string Lemon Plus, but with a lot of scrap. Our country manager then, Ninukana, came to the factory. My plant manager was excited. So she called him and said, come and see. Wale and his team had done, they performed a miracle. And we were sweating, we were happy, you know. And the man came. Unfortunately for us, the machine decided to misbehave while he was on the floor. And then we started cutting scrap. He waited, he was patient for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and the scrap bins were getting filled up. He's never seen such a thing before, because all they see is the beautiful cartons of products. They don't know that even when we generate such scraps, by the time the line becomes smooth, the percentage scrap would drop drastically by the time we produce over a long period of time. But all he saw was the scrap, and he started shouting, no, 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 don't do it again. I don't want it again. So, Alex, to answer your question, how do you handle such people? Of course, I told him he can leave my floor, that his presence caused the problem. I think that was one thing, by the grace of God, I enjoyed working with my boss then. I could tell her whatever I felt. Till today, she's still my mentor. She's still a very good friend. So she said, no, you don't say that to him. I said, I will. He doesn't even know that we've spent sleepless nights here trying to do this, da, 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 da. Anyway, eventually, cut the long story short, we succeeded with it. So our friends in sales, in commercial, oh my goodness, they always ask for the impossible. But as an organization, because we saw ourselves as different from them, we always try our best to meet their needs. When they will be at the various bars in town drinking, we will still be at the factory, wrecking our heads, looking for solutions, technical solutions to meet their needs. When we miss the deadline for their product launch, they make our lives miserable. It's as if, oh, we've killed the president of the country. Whereas for them, they can miss their deadlines without anybody knowing. So when I moved to HR, I made up my mind that I was going to be very, very mean to them. And mean I was. I remember Alex's colleague in sales, in CBD sales then, who was talking about recruiting people from the north. He'll look and remember. And I told him there's nobody in the north to recruit. He's a foreigner. He's still my very good friend. He said, can you imagine? You don't even know your country. When was the last time you were in the north? I said, that doesn't matter. I have data. And because of that, he went to the north. He found some 55 people for Alex to interview, just to spite me and show that I did not know my country. And I think Delu went to the north as a result to go and scout for people.
Yeah.
He was training one young lady then now, who is one of their HR leads in P&G, Uche. And they went to the north, they looked for some people. I think this lady to Ogbaje went with you. I can't remember every detail now. But sales people, commercial people, yeah, you're right, Alex. I still remember the pains. And I'm happy that I dealt with some of you very well.
Okay, labor organization.
Uh-huh.
And downsizing.
Downsizing. Oh, well, this person is saying my rich exposure. Well, can it be rich enough? I can only share the little experience I've had with downsizing or restructuring or retrenchment and so on and so forth. I've interfaced deeply with labor unions at both my company level and at national sectoral level. In the non-metallic sector, chemical, leather, non-metallic, I interacted with them. Now in the food and beverage and tobacco sector, I interact with them. My approach to relating with labor associations or labor unions is very simple. I see them as colleagues. I see them as partners who are also looking out for the best interest of the enterprise. I see them as being in a role that I can find myself as well. We can swap positions. So my approach to them is usually of dealing with peers, because that's what they are actually. They are my peers. And dealing with people who have a duty to carry out certain things that oftentimes HR leaders don't like. They are doing what they are supposed to do. Their job is to protect the interest of their members and optimize the benefit they can extract for them. Yes, their methods sometimes can be mean and can look to us HR practitioners as crude and sometimes uncivilized. However, the question I always ask people is, if you are the underdog and you are beaten by the Goliaths, won't you cry as well? If you are pinched, won't you scream? You will. So I think that approach had helped me to develop a lot of friendship, and friendship that goes beyond the periods of negotiation with them as union leaders. And with that friendship, honestly, their mindset in dealing with me is always a win-win mindset, not a win-lose mindset. Look, union leaders are the easiest stakeholders to deal with. They only fight back to spite those who disrespect them. They are intelligent people. Some of them are more educated than some of our HR people. And oftentimes, what we focus on is their diction and English instead of looking at their intelligence. These guys are highly intelligent. And what I enjoy with them is the moment they know my personal values and principles, they become my friends and we talk as friends. I've had negotiation meetings where the union leaders will say, look, Wale, tell us whatever you have brought. We don't want to waste your time. And I will confide in them. And they will agree with me on the various steps we will take to get to the answer. And we will do it. At the end of the day, I know that what I have negotiated on their behalf with management is good enough for the business and is good enough for them. And they too know that when I go for mandate, I do it with their best interest at heart. And the interest that connects all of us is for the enterprise to continue to prosper. Otherwise, if the enterprise dies, nobody will be a union leader. And nobody will be an employee. So they understand. So union leaders are the easiest to understand. However, you must be a master of your game. If you don't know what the trade union act, what the employment and labor relations related laws and social laws, social acts contain, if you don't know what the procedural agreement of your industry contains, if you don't know what your previous collective agreements contain, if you don't know what even the union constitution has, you may not be able to speak to them as someone who knows, who is on top of your game, and they will not respect you. The moment they know that you are shallow, you will lose their respect. But if you know those stuff, if you know your stuff, they will look up to you even as their consultant. They will confide in you that they are stuck and seek your advice on how to move things forward. I think that's what I have enjoyed since I've been leading the National Joint Industrial Council for food, beverage, and tobacco industry for the country. I have a lot of respect for the president of Nuvite and a lot of respect for the president of FOBTOB, who is now the TUC president for the country. And they have a lot of respect for me as well.
Very good. So in this season, this COVID season, do you see a lot of battles on the horizon? Is there going to be, are people going to lose their jobs? What should people take note of? How should people, prepare themselves? How do you stay valuable in this time and ensure that
ABT is online. I see you. ABT, don't mind. My constituency. KE, is that you?
Okay, great. Yeah. So, what do you think? What do you think people can do from both sides? Employees, what can employees do to secure themselves? Employers, what can employers do to not, create a problem for themselves of stringing people along when they are going to really have challenges?
First of all, I'm appealing to all my colleagues on this webinar. Stay safe. The most important objective, the most important KPI we all have now is to see the end of COVID. That's the priority number one, priority number two, priority number three for all of us. Okay?
Okay.
The storm is still ahead. The curve is dancing between 100 plus and 300 plus. The time will come, and I'm looking at the next 2 weeks, when we will see a daily infection rate of 500 plus, and it will be consistent. I think the projection by epidemiologists in Lagos is that Lagos can see 120,000 infections by June.
Wow.
So we're talking of only 4 weeks away. So what then do we need to do in our different roles? Not just HR. Whoever is managing another person has a responsibility for themselves and for those people. Number one, we need to ensure that our people are safe, meaning those that do not need to be outside there should not be. If people can work from home, let them work from home. If people must work in the factory, see if you can accommodate them close enough to their production areas so that they don't mingle with too many people at this period. For those that need to commute from their home to the office, number one, make sure they are well educated on how to keep themselves safe in the period that they are not in your charge. And please do them the favor of moving them through a safe transportation platform. Our yellow buses and Okadas will not do it at this time. So we must shield our people from being exposed. In addition to all of that, provide proper PPEs for them, proper PPEs for them. Not just in the factory or in the office, but when they are outside of the office as they commute between their homes and the office, okay? It's not just about their physical well-being. It's also about their mental well-being. Please, this is not the time to create panic in their minds. To be honest with you, I wasn't happy when I saw a video that went viral about a business leader telling people some of them will lose their jobs and so on. Yes, we know that eventually some people will lose their jobs. But there is a principle we must not joke with. If someone will be facing a firing squad, please don't taunt the person with it. There is no consolation you can give someone whose mother was killed by a leopard or a wolf. Sometimes being quiet is the best form of commiseration that you can give. We know eventually organizations will have to change their operating model from this COVID experience. And that will mean that some people will be let go. However, don't forget that we let people go when they will have the chance to find some alternatives. Anyone that you let go during this pandemic will not find a vacancy somewhere else. This is not the time. Nobody's advertising any job now. In fact, if anyone has an open position to fill, they would rather wait till the end of the COVID crisis.
True.
So it's not the time to start telling people we don't have a choice, some jobs will have to go. Number two, so don't create panic because of their mental well-being. Number two, please, if all CSR you can do is to give people some means of livelihood until the end of the pandemic, there's nothing wrong in doing that. So if the burden is so much, and I'm looking at SMEs especially, if the burden is so much that you cannot afford salaries again, let's face it now, you can at least afford to feed them. So if you can't pay salaries again, please realize that they have to eat. So you can negotiate with them and give them just enough stipend for them to survive through this pandemic. Let that be your own CSR. Negotiate, pay reduction, and reduce it to the level that at least they can be at home and have something to eat. So it's not just about their physical well-being, it's about their mental well-being. Now, think about their family members. If you fire anybody now, someone that cannot afford his own medical bills from time, you are the one, is your company, is your business that have been supporting him or her and some members of the family when it comes to medical bill. What if the person contracts COVID? Lagos State government and some state government and the federal government have been trying to take care of all COVID cases pro bono. However, they are stretched now. Lagos alone has over 1,200 COVID positive cases that are still active. Thereabouts. At least 4 days ago, it was about 900 plus. So I'm sure we're at 1,000 plus now. All the isolation beds that we have in Lagos State is slightly below 500.
Really?
So they cannot even accommodate all the active cases that we have now. And of course, there's a limit to what the government alone can do. So please, SMEs and other businesses, let's support our people. At least they have some history of having contributed to that our business. Let's do whatever we can to support them. So for you too, employee, for me, an employee, we must add value. Some people see this as holiday. Even those who are not infected, some of them are coming with stories of symptoms. I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, Oga, I won't be able to report for duty. Any employee that does that is heaping curses. I'm sorry, I'm a Christian, so, and I believe in that supreme Baba up there. Please, it's not the time to hide behind COVID and begin to play pranks on your employer. This is a time for you to wear the shoes of your employer. I feel for my employer because I know we are spending on a daily basis millions of naira extra, more than what we normally spend, to feed people, to transport them, to buy medication. We bought vitamins for our people to fortify them so that they boost their immunity. Peradventure, they get exposed, so they're in a better condition of mind and body to fight the infection. So if an employer does all of this for us, it is not appropriate for us to now play I can hide game. Please, your employers are looking at you. They know those who are really adding value.
Yes,
That's
sir.
one benefit that this COVID pandemic had provided employers.
Yes.
We know those that we have to go and provide special means to bring to work to solve problems. And we know those that we don't even remember they are our employees anymore. We'll continue to pay your salary, you continue to get all the benefits, but the moment somebody mentions your name, people say, oh, that's true, we've not seen him for so long. We hope he's okay. If you are in the we hope he's okay category, when the pandemic is over and there are options out there, you will be among those that will be thrown out to go and look for somewhere where you can add value. So please add value. Don't limit yourself to your job brief. This is not the time to do that.
Thank you very much. This is very, very enlightening, very inspiring. So a few quick questions as we bring it to a gradual close. Somebody's asking, I think I can group these questions together under the category of who is HR meant for? When should I consider HR as my option? When should HR be my option? Somebody's also asking, did you ever feel insecure or inadequate in your new role? I think you've already answered that one. Whether HR was your choice or not, you've answered that. Somebody's asking, involving internal candidates, what is the major thing you look for in interviews involving internal candidates? I think you already answered what you studied in school. Thank you for adding your rich experience. I will find and follow you on LinkedIn. Somebody said that. I have two questions. How will you manage a board that is bent? So how do you manage a board that is bent on downsizing in the face of this global crisis, even though your business industry is not affected, profitability-wise? So your employer is hiding behind COVID. And it says, which policies do you consider most important in re-engineering of organizations to match the demands of our new environment? So I think we can deal with those.
Plenty question.
Yes. Sir.
So let me be brief on them. Who is HR meant for? I've had people say, oh, I love people, I like working with people, and so on and so forth. And therefore, I chose HR. Sorry, HR is not about loving people. Everybody must love people because there is nobody that will not work with people. I love working with people. That's not a justification for being in HR. Look, being in HR in those days used to be being punished, being dumped for not performing in your initial role. So it used to be a dumping ground. That was when HR was about keeping the records and writing letters and filing documents. In fact, HR does not have time for all those filing things now. Those ones are automated. So HR is for people that are commercially minded. HR is for people that can balance commercial mindedness with empathy for people. HR is for people that are principled and can hold the reins of the conscience of the organization. So HR is for someone that would understand the business model of the enterprise that he or she is supporting. As HR person, you are the right-hand person to the leader of that business, to the CEO, to the GM, to the MD. You are helping that MD to think through what kind of structure will support the business's objectives and mission, and what kind of people will fit into those structures, and how should those people be organized, and how to manage the culture that will support the mission and objectives of that business. So someone that is interested in HR should be someone that is good at planning. That's why supply chain people usually do well in HR.
Yep.
Engineering people usually do well in HR because
Yep.
HR is process driven, but balanced with empathy. So it's not a matter of that's what the policy says, this is what the process says. The process was developed for people, people were not developed for the process. So the HR person is that person that can listen to the CEO or the GM or the head of that unit, because HR can be at different levels, and understanding what is key, what is important to that business from that person, and then helping the person to structure the organization in a way that will support those important objectives, and helping to identify who will fit into that structure and how to ensure the operational culture supports that structure. So you as an HR person is the number one confidant of your head of department, your GM, your MD, your CEO. You are the one that he or she calls upon when he or she needs to think through any important mission or goal or objective of the business. Because there is nothing any business can do without people. Even with all the artificial intelligence and robotics and automation and machine learning, it will still be human beings that will program those things. And you, as the HR person, you are the master of the people management processes, principles, and science that will help guide the business to structure it right, to put the right people there, to challenge them appropriately, reward them appropriately, and drive other processes that will entrench the right culture. So HR is science and practice. HR is not, I have soft heart for people. In fact, an HR person must have both the soft and the hard heart. The most important thing is to be fair and firm and to have empathy. Even when you sanction or punish your children or correct your children with some sanctions, you don't wish them evil. You are correcting them to make them better. The same thing with an HR person. You dismiss people. I've had situations where I fired somebody and I was sharing part of my salary with the person until he found another job. That's what HR is about. You have to do what is right for the enterprise, but you do it in a way that does not destroy the people that are involved. Somebody was talking about what to study.
Yes.
I studied engineering. I have colleagues in HR who study social sciences. I have some who studied medicine, MBBS. Provided you are ready to learn the science and the practice, your first degree or your first course of study does not bear so much weight.
True.
Because HR is a discipline that is structured and has materials for people to learn the science, the principles, and the theories, and the practices too. And you can learn, especially if you have a mind that is good at planning and organizing. You'll be able to learn quickly.
Okay. There's an off-the-cuff question about policy on kidnapping for organizations. Is there any policy like that?
Kidnapping, well, first thing first, kidnapping is a crime, and the risk is everywhere in the country now. In those days, it used to be in particular region where we tap oil. Now it's everywhere. In fact, in those days, it's used the target used to be foreigners. Now, the target is no longer foreigners, it's both locals and foreigners. Apart from that, the target used to be people that are well-to-do. Now they target even poor people like me. So the first thing to do about kidnapping your organization is to have preventive measures in place. So your people must be educated, and it's not just them, even their family members. So educate them about what it is, the risk factors, what exposes to it. You know, for instance, people know if you talk about millions all the time out there, if you put all your life on Facebook, if you put all your stories, people know you just bought a new car, you just built a new house, and so on and so forth. So it's about maintaining a low profile and some other precautionary measures. So people in your organization need to understand all those precautionary measures. It's also about monitoring the security situation in the country at all times, especially the locations that your people do visit for business or for pleasure. So you must be getting regular security reports, so you know the hotspots, and you can then give security alerts and security advice to your people, okay? So that's all preventive, and there are so many other preventive measures. Now, that's the bottom of the pyramid. That's ideally where everybody should be. The next level, where you cannot totally avoid some of those risk factors. I give you an example. If your colleagues who are expatriates must be on the highway in the east, for instance, or in Maiduguri for business reasons, then you need to provide deterrence measures, okay? And various forms of it exist. I can't cover all of that in the short time we have. Now, that's the middle of the pyramid. The top of the pyramid now is where things had happened. And then you have to manage the damage and minimize the impact. Someone is already kidnapped, so you need to train your people beforehand. In fact, you should have dress rehearsals. You should have dry runs. They must know how to respond when there's kidnapping. You should have a BCP for kidnapping. When you have an incident, who should know? What should they do? Who should authorize what? What is your level 1 response? When do you escalate to level 2? And what are the responses in level 2? When do you escalate to level 3? You need specialized skill in negotiation with kidnappers. One advice I usually give to people is keep your company out of it. The more you can do that, the better. The reason is, if you don't, your company can become a customer data. They will know that pick somebody from that company, they will cough something. So as a matter of policy, we don't get involved. So what you do is provide consultancy service to the family, ideally, and support them emotionally. But getting involved to start talking ransom and all that is not ideal. It can expose other people. So you must have a policy. The policy must be communicated to everyone. And the policy should look at the 3 levels in the pyramid: the bottom of the pyramid, the middle, and the top of the pyramid. And you should train your people ahead of time. Train them on the bottom of the pyramid where you have precautionary measures. Train them on the middle of the pyramid where you have deterrence measures. You know, it has not happened yet, but they're in a zone where it can happen or there is the risk. And train them on the top of the pyramid where it has happened. What do? Keep your mouth shut. Don't start promising things. Don't start calling people, and so on and so forth. So you need experts in that field to help you shape the policy and help you shape the education of your people and also manage when you have a real crisis.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I think we'll end with this set of questions. We've gone a long way already as well. I think people have hacked into HR server today. We have a very detailed information on a variety of things. This is asking, and I think it's an SME that's talking here. Is it a must as an employer who is into sales of goods to pay his staff full salary for April in which there was no business activity? So Abiola Lawal is saying, there's no business activity, there's no money. How do you, is it compulsory? How do you pay? That's
Abiola Lawal,
yeah.
There is a legal way to look at it,
Yeah.
and there is a humanitarian way to look at it. I always encourage people, obey the law, but agree on humanitarian ground. So, as an employer, you've signed a contract, you signed the dotted line, and the dotted line says you must pay their salaries in full. That's legal. Now, the humanitarian, which is not just from you, it's also from them, is for the two of you now to talk as adults. Gentlemen, ladies, the business is losing X every month because there is no activity. We need to minimize the loss. Otherwise, we will exhaust our reserve in 2 months or in 3 months, and everybody will be out of job. What do we do? So open up conversation with them. Like I mentioned earlier on, look, even if you don't have union, assume that they are representing themselves as union and treat them as peers, treat them as partners that are interested in the good, in the success of the enterprise. Open your books. Open your books. If you want the people to give you humanitarian listening, you must open your book. Your business must be a PLC. Your SME, I know, but make it a PLC when it comes to opening your book. Some of us think, oh, when our employees know we're making 10 million every month or 50 million every month, they would demand salary increase. There's nothing like that. It depends on how you educate them. If they know that for an enterprise, that 50 million or 10 million you make every month is not all going into the pocket. Some of them will go into reserve to take care of features like this that we are facing. They will show understanding. Open your book, discuss with them. Believe me, they will listen to you. You will be shocked that they've been expecting you to talk to them.
Okay. And Jason is asking, for internal applications, what are the things that give edge for internal applications? Kufre is asking, I'm looking for an HR career, and they keep telling me I've done CIPM, I've done XYZ, but they keep asking for years of experience. And many of the people that you ask for years of experience these days, they don't want to give you a job as a trainee. They're also asking for 2 years experience.
Why don't you have years of experience, Kufre? Your own is the easiest.
Have you?
You know, people think years of experience means until P&G or Guinness or Frigoglass or Deolu employs you. What they are looking for is years of experience of practicing HR, where you solve real problems. I'm sure you can find one of those small businesses around that are looking for HR support and cannot afford to pay one. Please provide them service and gain experience from them. If you can't find any, come. I have a restaurant in Ibadan. I can do with a HR manager. Maybe after 2 weeks or 3, I will decide to give you some stipend when I see the value that you are adding. I'm not saying, look, I want to exploit you, but I'm offering you something. You are looking for experience. And in return, you are giving me that service. So, and look, this was the advice I gave to a gentleman that I respect so much. He's like an aburo to me, even though we are not related by blood. I told him the same thing, and this was years ago, not even now that things are, as tough as this everywhere. You know what? This guy approached a SME and he offered them his service, and they allowed him. After the first month, they told him they will be paying him transport and housing allowance. And by the third month, they were paying him salary. It was when they started paying him salary, he now got a good job with a very good company and left them. So please, if they're asking for your years of experience, you don't have to wait until you get a big job somewhere. Go and talk, and you can find those that you can approach. I wish you were in Ibadan. That's where my restaurant is. I will say, go there, look at our HR system and help us reform it. Now, this second guy, remind me of his question, Gary. The years of experience are taking it to.
Internal
as an internal candidate, please. You know what? You have Oriju already. As an internal candidate, the first thing the company is looking for is someone that is aligned with their core values. So how well have you role modeled the core values of the business? That's number one. Number two, if you're an internal candidate, that means you've seen that role and you know what that role requires. Sure. So why are you asking me for what you know? I mean, all you need to do is talk to the person that had been in the role. What does this your role entail? Look, I encourage you, don't even wait until the role is vacant. Any role you are interested in, are you interested in becoming the CEO of your business? Even if today you are a management trainee, go to the CEO's office at lunchtime. Beg the PA to allow you to see him for something important. And beg the CEO that all you want from him is just 3 minutes to tell you the most important thing required to become a CEO. Believe me, he will give you 15 minutes if he has no other meeting.
Yes, sir.
And he will tell you what it takes. So the next job that you want, please go and talk to the role holder. What is important? What is this job about? What is the contribution this job makes to the business? In our business model, what is the critical role that this job is playing? What are the skills required to be successful at providing that role? What are the risk involved? And so on and so forth. So you have Orijo as an internal candidate.
Yep.
Don't wait until interview.
Yes, sir. And I like this question from Ngozi Okonko. He said, sir, you mentioned that at a time you were learning with Yoruba and you couldn't speak good English. And we're listening to you today. Your English sounds very clear, very crisp. Your communication is intact.
Is it?
What did you do? Is it brighter grammar?
I did not do brighter grammar. In fact, there was a young man in my class, in my hostel, my very first roommate. We gained admission into UI same time, and we were roommates. His name is Femi Taiwo, Dr. Femi Taiwo, the same person that's in the US that is working on COVID. See, I was at least a year older than Femi. And because I came with my village English, he got some of his friends, they gave me tough time, and I wrote on the door of our room, I wrote no entrance. And they started making fun of me, and I didn't know what I said wrong. I think when it comes to learning to speak English, I have been shameless about it. You cannot mock me to stop me from learning. So I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to write no entrance. I think it's something like no entry. I don't even know if I still know the correct English today. So people make fun of me, but I don't care. And that's how I have learned. I will blow the grammar, I will shoot like Lagbaja will say, I will fire the gun, and people will laugh, and then I will learn from the experience. So I learn from people when I make mistake with my grammar. No big deal. So don't be ashamed to learn. Nobody was born with English. We all learned it.
Yes,
the
sir.
only thing we were all born with is either Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Ishan, Efik. You were not born with English. Everybody learned it. So if they learn faster than you, they shouldn't mock you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I think at this junction, we've covered most of it. All the questions are answered. Thank you very much for the insightful answers to the questions. I'd like you to give us a parting shot. People, you just want to, in this season, some people are on lockdown, some people are working from home, some people are working remotely, some people are panicking, some people are worried. And, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there. There's just a closing charge from you today as we go to our various hopes.
Let me first of all say that you are among the privileged few in this country. Whatever you think your problem is lighter than the problem of at least 190 million people. You are in the top 10 million. Some of you are in the top 1 million. You are privileged. Not everybody would have the facility you are using now, whatever device and data that you are using now to participate in this webinar. So don't allow anything to weigh you down. Learn the principle of what's the worst case scenario. Learn it. It helped me in my life. I know God created me for a purpose. I was born to a security guard as a father and a petty trader that did not go to any school as a mother. Both of them did well to see me through school. I wore khaki, brown khaki in my primary school days. That's why I couldn't speak English. When I see people make fun of those people that, in those little children that they put on social media, that say, me ubo English. That was me ubo English. But God created me for a purpose. Sometimes we are the ones that feel the pains of all those children. They are having fun. I had fun without shoe. My feet will butata with dust. My uniform will be dirty and I will wear it like that. It will wrinkle inside the basket. We didn't have wardrobe. I was sleeping on mats. Look, in that state, I was happy. Happiness is a choice.
Yes, sir.
Success in life is a choice because you are the one that defines what success means to you.
Yes, sir.
To me, then, success meant if I become a forestry officer, I've reached the top of the world. I've improved on my daddy's standard. Please don't join the rat race. People say, oh, maybe because you are finding it easy. I don't even spend 10% of what I make. I disperse it. So if I do not work again, I always make fun of those that are connected to me, that you better pray well. If I decide not to work again, I will be better off because I will eat well, I will sleep well. It's you that you will now have to adjust because what you are getting, you won't get again. Please, no rat race. It's not worth it. You are privileged. Use that privilege well. You are created for a purpose. You don't know where you are going, but God knows. The most important assignment you hold God at this time is to survive COVID. Choose to survive COVID. Mentally, be stable. God forbid, if you lose your job, so be it. As long as you have food and clothes, don't worry. Let COVID be over. You'll find something much better to do. Okay? If your business is suffering now, you're paying salaries, I can feel your pain. I can understand. But please, the fact that you even have people that you have to pay shows that you are better off than so many. There are people on the street out there who are not sure of where the next meal will come from. I was in their situation before. My entire family, when my mom and dad will leave the house, we'll be looking at time, we'll be hungry, we'll be waiting for them. And when they come eventually in the evening, they may come with frustration. That, oh, for all I have gone, this is all I can get. Please, you are privileged. Let your happiness be contagious. As some people spread the infection, you infect people with happiness. Choose it. And we will all be fine at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Very, very much. I think you saved the best for last. Thank you very much for that parting shot. I'd like to encourage everybody here today. Please listen to this. For those who came late, you can get it from you can get the video. It's shared in the green community. If you're not in the green community, ask the person that invited you here. We have over 5,000 people in those communities. We'll share the links. It'll be on YouTube. You can listen over and over again. I think the parting shots are very, very important. Realize that if you have a roof over your head, you are in the top 10% already. You're in top 5% of society, and you can choose to be gloomy or choose to be happy. It's all a choice, and we can be very deliberate in making those choices and spreading the happiness, spreading the joy, making sure that we love people, we reach out, be human. This too shall pass. When it passes, what we will have gained from it is what we did, is how we served, is how we made a difference, is how we made impacts, is who we loved. And don't be too panicky and scared to begin to see how you can hoard all you have so that all your family will live. I think we'll pass through this. We'll get through with this. And the good you can do, let's do at this time. And when we are on the other side of things and everything is looking good and dandy, we'll be able to look back and say, what have I learned in this period? What values have I inculcated? And all these lessons we are learning, let's put them in our left hand. If we don't use fork and knife, that is, let's keep it somewhere and ensure that we can take these lessons and make the most of them. Thank you very much, Ogawali. That's how I call him. It's been fun having you here today. God bless you. God bless you real good. And I'm sure this is not the last. At the end of that conversation, I was beginning to hear some things that I have not even really interacted and interviewed you on. So that Amala joints, maybe another interview is coming where we'll talk about the Amala joints, and then another interview is coming where we'll dig into that childhood with those brown khaki trousers.
Yes.
I know that Wale is very tall. Wale is about 6'5" tall. So his legs must really be coming out of the khaki trousers. But thank you very much for all that you've done today. God bless you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to put a little music out there, and then as soon as the particular record